Hi, everybody. My name is Carol Lyle Shaw, and for those of you who may not know me, I am a quilter. I've been quilting for over 25 years now. I teach quilting, I write patterns, and I have books out there about quilting, and I love the quilting life. Well, as I mentioned, I publish patterns. And imagine my delight and surprise when one day I looked up and one of my new customers is the esteemed Iyanla Vanzant, who is here with me today. She has graciously agreed to an interview to talk about her quilt life. Now, I am sure everyone knows who Iyanla is, but I'm going to just read a little bit about her bio because I learned some things when I read it. Iyanla has been called an American treasure. She is well known as an inspirational speaker, a lawyer, a New Thought spiritual teacher, author, spiritual life coach, and of course, television personality. She is lovingly called Auntie by the thousands who follow her on social media and in other public arenas. She is the founder and executive director of Inner Visions Institute for Spiritual Development. And of course, she is known to millions for her books and her appearances on The Oprah Winfrey Show. And she also has had a stellar showing on her award winning unscripted reality show, Iyanla Fix My Life, on the Oprah Winfrey Network. She has written 19 books, six of which are on the New York Times bestseller list. She has an Emmy for the NBC Bunim Murray daytime drama Starting Over. And she holds four NAACP Image Awards, three Gracie Awards, three honorary degrees, and was recently awarded the Walden Award by Unity Worldwide Ministries as a socially conscious leader, making the world a better place through mind body healing. She has many, many credentials, among them being a graduate of the Medgar Evers College and Virginia Union University Seminary. She holds a Juris Doctor degree from the City University of New York School of Law and a master's degree from the University of Santa Monica Center for the Study and Practice of Spiritual Psychology. She is a certified hypnotherapist and also a certified practitioner of progressive emotional freedom technique. And I am so thrilled that she's here today. I said we, because I know that those of you who are watching are just as excited. So we are thrilled to have you. And I'm really thrilled that you are a quilter and textile artist. So
Yeah.
let me start with that question. How did you come to quilting and textile work?
Well, I grew up watching my grandmother, who's a Native American, a Cherokee Native. She hand quilted. She used old shirts and old chenille spreads. Remember chenille spreads? I don't even know if they sell them anymore.
I don't think so.
Any old scraps, like when people threw out clothes, she would take them and cut them up, and she could, and it was, for me, it was embarrassing that my grandmother would be digging through the trash, getting people's old old clothes. I was afraid she was gonna make us wear them. And she was a domestic worker, so she frequently brought home old clothes from the people that she worked for, and she would cut it up and she would hand quilt. And so I grew up watching her do that. She never really taught me how to do it, but I watched her. And in my life, I was actually a scrapbooker. I did scrapbooks, mixed media scrapbooks, because I was so accustomed to working with textiles, working with fabrics, watching her work with fabrics. So I started out with scrapbooking because it was cleaner. I didn't have to go digging in the trash. So, um, and then I really don't know. I think one day I did a scrapbook page and I said, this would make a wonderful quilt. And I started exploring the quilt world. And I said, oh my God, I can get the same fabric as I can paper. So I started buying fabric. I think part of my joy with quilting is buying fabric. I really do. I think if I made a quilt every day for the next 5 years, I couldn't use all the fabric I have. Um, and I started investigating the quilt world and really just fell in love with it. For me, it's a meditation, putting little pieces together, just like I do with people, putting little pieces together and taking those pieces and turning it into something really beautiful and meaningful. And because it is so meditative for me, one of the practices that I have is whenever I make a quilt, in that center block, whatever that center block is, I write a prayer on um, fusible fabric. I write a prayer and then I iron that prayer onto the back of that center block. So all of my quilts have a prayer in the center.
That is really beautiful because the prayer then is hidden inside the quilt. Oh, what a wonderful treasure. So it's protecting the person who's using the quilt.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen because I have a photograph of one of your quilts that was made for a friend. Tell us about this quilt.
Oh yeah, this is Mama's prayer. A dear friend of mine, I call her Mama Almasi. Mama is, a title of respect and love, and she loves indigo. She loves the indigo tie dyes and the indigo's fabrics and the indigo everything. And indigo is made most often by women who smash the dyes and they make the different designs in the fabric. So I made this quilt for Mama Almasi and gathering all different indigo patterns and fabrics and made that for her. And of course, in that center square, there is a prayer for her. She is the mother of five. She is the grandmother of seven. She taught children for almost 30 years, over 30 years. She taught children in a private charter school that she and her husband started. And so this quilt I made for her just for her strength and for the strength that she's given to other women, but most importantly because each one of those fabrics was hand dyed by a woman.
Wow, that is so amazing. I love the varied patterns in the different indigos. Where did you acquire the fabrics from? Do you recall?
A variety of places, and buying them, I didn't know what the quilt was going to look like. The border and that pattern on the border, I actually got at a flea market. There was a sister there selling fabric at a flea market. The tie dye down on the bottom. I don't know. Sometimes when you search through, because some of the fabric is linen, some of it is batik, and you just find it. The blue one at the top, there are two blue ones at the top. They are traditional Ankara prints, African prints that I found somewhere. But I'm always on the lookout for fabric. I know you know that.
Yes.
Wherever I go, I'm on the lookout for fabric. So, and I have my little haunts that I go to.
Yes, we all have our favorite vendors.
Yes,
Well, this
yes,
is a beautiful quilt, and it's so simple, but I love the variety of sizes and the shapes that you used in this particular top. And the sashing, I think, is really important because it allows those indigo fabrics to really shine.
yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to do. And I love sashing when I'm not doing a uniform pattern. I love sashing because it makes like you said, it makes the color and the pattern of the fabric stand out. So I'm a sasher.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop my share. And I'd love for you to show us a little bit about what you're working on
Yeah,
today, right
I'm
now.
working on, I don't know what it's going to become, but I found these. This is grunge. I love the grunge fabric. So I'm working on um two different color coordinations. I may put them together. I don't know, if I put them together, I'll get a diamond. I'm not really sure yet, but the smaller the better. And then I'm obsessive, so my seams are I am, I'm OCD when it comes to what the inside looks like. And of course, because I'm going to put a prayer in there, I want to make sure that my insides are neat and intact. And then I have this that I'm working on. And this is for a friend of mine who lives in Australia. I hope you can see it all.
Yes,
That
we can.
um, that that image in the center is called a light code. This friend of mine, she lives in Australia, and she makes personal light codes. And it's a symbol of sacred geometry, of colors and images and geometric shapes that she kind of intuits for everyone. And this one she sent me, it's for the Divine Mother,
Oh, wow.
particular light code. So I'm putting this together for her. She doesn't know about it, but I'm doing it for her, and I'm going to send it to her with the prayer. I'm actually thinking I'm going to do a version of Hail Mary and put it on the back of this code on the back of this for her, and put that prayer inside. But that's what I'm working on now. Um,
Just
and
a
it,
question about that image. Is she painting them or is she making them digitally? Do you know?
she hand makes them and then digitizes them.
Wow.
She
That's
hand makes.
amazing.
Yeah, and I have one, and this particular code, this code she did, this is what it'll look like.
Oh, wow.
This is for ancestral healing. This is for
Wow.
ancestral healing. So I'm going to make
For another
one
friend
of
of mine.
those. And what I do is I send, they have services that'll take your photographs and turn
Mhm.
them into quilting squares. So I'm going to do one for ancestral healing and put the prayer for ancestors on the back. But right now I'm really excited about my light codes.
Yes. So you have your fabrics, those fabrics printed commercially by a company like Spoonflower or something like that.
Yes, I do use I've used spoon flour, but I also do sew sweet on stitches is another one that I do, sweet on stitches. And I send them the photographs, and they use a really nice quality cotton, and they come back whatever size. You can get as small as a 2 by 2, as large as a 16 by 16. But I like small blocks. I
Yes.
like to work with small blocks and put them together in a variety of ways. So I'm not really, like I said, I don't know what this is going to become yet, but I'm excited.
Well, that's an interesting combination of working somewhat improvisationally, but with precision as well.
Yeah.
And
I'm a pattern quilter though. I've got to have a pattern. Now
okay.
I may alter how they say do this color, that color. I may alter that, but somebody needs to write a book on quilting math. I don't get the math right. So if I don't have a pattern, I'm really in a lot of trouble. But
Right.
I can cut the blocks, and I know how many blocks to use if I have a pattern. If not, trust me, I have a holy mess. We need quilting math. I need quilting math.
Well, actually, there are a couple of programs that'll do that for you, and I will send you links to them
Okay.
because they have all the traditional blocks in their library, and then you can create your own layout and you can resize the blocks, and it'll even tell
Really?
you how much fabric you need. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, and it's not that hard to learn. It's called EQ8 is the one I use, but there's another one as well. And I'll put links, everybody, to the programs I'm talking about
Okay.
in this video. But yes, there's software now to help us because you're not alone.
I know. Yeah, because I'm like, okay, if this is, I had this beautiful fabric and I cut it all out and I wanted 4-inch blocks. I forgot about the 1/4 inch seam allowance. So the blocks ended up being 3.5 instead of
Right.
4. Was a mess. What I want to do for, I'm now a great grandmother.
Ah, congratulations.
So what I want to do is I'm gathering photos of all my family lines, and I
Hmm.
want to do a quilt of with the photos that I have of the ancestors, so that
Oh,
when my great grands, because they'll never know my grandmother or my great grandmother. I'll be, I'm a great grand, but I want them to see my mother, my father, my grandmother. I want them to know, and I think quilting is a great way to capture our history,
yes,
particularly if you can take those photos and get them reduced to a block. And because people will hold on to a quilt, they'll lose photos, or
yes.
now everything is digital, it's in the computer. But a quilt, I think people will hold on to. Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's very true. And making quilts with photos or quilts from the clothing of people who've, perhaps passed on,
Yeah.
or kids when they were younger and they grow up and you happen to have some of their original clothes when they were
Right.
kids.
Yeah.
Making quilts from that kind of fabric is just wonderful, and people do treasure it.
Yes. When my daughter passed away in 2003. Her daughter was 9. And she was so traumatized. And so I gathered up a bunch of pictures of my daughter. And at that time, I wasn't quilting, I was still scrapbooking. I sent it off and had a quilt made of photos of her and her mother. She slept with that quilt. She still has it, but she slept with it. I mean, literally slept with the quilt until she was about 20 years old, um,
Yes,
just so that she could be covered by her mother. So I think that that's another really powerful way for us as women to capture our history and to share our wisdom and our knowledge. Um, and I saw a fabric that had writing on it, and I said, how can I do that and really make prayers and make a quilt of the prayers that I've written? You know,
yes,
that would be lovely too.
yes, and you can do that in a number of ways.
Yeah.
Using like a paint marker, with a fine tip, and
Yes.
writing on fabric. When I write on fabric, first I iron it onto freezer paper
Oh, okay.
because that stabilizes the fabric.
Okay.
And so I iron the fabric onto the, sticky side of the freezer paper. Then I write on it, sometimes with just a regular fine tip magic marker will work.
Okay.
I test
Okay.
it to make sure it doesn't bleed. And then you can take photos and send that off to,
Okay. See, look
yes,
at
and they
that.
can print
Look,
it.
25 years of experience. That is
And
wonderful.
that way you can use different colors and so forth. If you want it in your own handwriting.
Yes, I
And
do. I want it in my
I've done
own.
that for quilts over the years.
Yeah, yeah. How long does it take you to make a quilt from start to finish?
Ah, good question. Sometimes I can make an art quilt. Uh, I recently made a quilt with photographs of my mother and father, and they're old photographs from like the World War II time.
Yeah.
I'll drop an image of that quilt in this video when I edit it. But that quilt probably took me 10 hours to make.
Really?
But when you see it, it's very simple. I printed the photos at home actually because I use printable fabric,
Okay.
and run it through my inkjet printer because it's an
Okay.
art quilt. It's just going to be on the wall, but it's a small piece, and I used some non-traditional fabrics like upholstery fabric and a little bit of like crochet kind of lace looking fabric. some of which I bought when I was visiting family in Baltimore last
Okay.
summer. And I went to a craft thrift shop and bought this bag of scraps. Didn't know, like you said, I didn't know what I was going to do with them. So when I decided to make this quilt commemorating my parents' wedding and their romance, uh, I added that fabric to it as well. So there wasn't a lot of piecing.
Okay.
Very simple blocks, large blocks, and then the quilting. I've almost finished it to really make sure that the lace, the crochet fabric is secured and that sort of thing. I also added some African fabric to it
Oh yeah.
that I
Yeah.
had in my stash,
Yeah.
and but that now that's something simple. A quilt like the one behind me, which is about 50 by 50-ish inches. Lots of small pieces in this quilt. And I have to take time to figure out the layout. So this, I might work on something like this for a week or so, off and on, probably jump around to other things. But this is totally improv piece
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Yeah, some it all depends. I try to get in at least an hour a day because if not, I will have, 15 projects going and none of them completed.
Right.
Um, I try to work at least an hour a day. Sunday is usually my quilting day because Law and Order is on, and I I just put Law and Order in. Me and Jack McCoy, we spend our day quilting. I don't know if he knows he's a quilter, but he's him, me, Lenny Briscoe, Jack McCoy.
Oh,
We
yes, I love those.
so I try to work an hour a day,
Hmm.
and depending upon the pattern, I can probably, yeah, about 10 hours, Sunday, if I really stay focused, I can get my top done probably in about 6 or 7 hours. But when the pieces are this small, that's going to
Yes,
take me
those
a little
flying
long.
geese.
Yeah, yeah, I do love a flying geese and a half square triangle.
And it's funny you say that because I'm working on half square triangles myself
Yeah,
yesterday and today.
yeah.
Uh, I have one other question. Do you machine piece or hand piece your
I
quilt?
machine. I machine piece. Yeah. I machine piece. It's faster for me. And like I
Mhm.
said, I grew up watching my grandmother hand piece. But I'm a modern girl, so I go to the machine.
And do
Yeah.
you quilt your quilts yourself or send them out?
I send them out. I have to really work with myself. Every time I get a quilting magazine and they have another ad for a long arm machine, and I'm like, okay, where will I put it? I'll put it downstairs. No, I'm not gonna go downstairs. I can't have anywhere upstairs. So it's really been a battle not to buy one,
Hmm.
but I have a couple of vendors that I use and they get them back to me really quick and nice. I don't need to start another thing.
Learn another new skill.
Oh, I know. I really don't. I don't.
Yeah.
And now that I'm not doing the show anymore, I'm doing more online teaching and stuff. I have a little more time, but
Hmm.
I'm like I said, OCD. I'm obsessive. So when I start it, I want to finish it. I want it done. And I like to send it out. And then when it comes back, I was like, oh my God, that is gorgeous. I didn't even know I could do that. That's the pattern I'm working on for you now is oh my God, what is the name of it? I just cut it out. You'll love it. I did solid colors and Ankara prints and so I'm gonna
Oh, was
yeah, they
this the well, I'll look, but
yeah.
we'll drop the link. And hopefully I'll get a photo from you,
I'll
even
send
if
you a
it's in
photo.
progress,
Yeah.
and I can drop it into the video as well,
Okay.
or add it, in my social media. I am so thrilled that you bought my pattern.
I have
So
several of
you
them.
are a modern girl if you're buying my patterns, because they're
Yeah,
definitely
I
modern
love
quilts.
I love the old style. I mean, paisley prints, florals, solids, and I have one. I sent it away and didn't take a photograph where I used florals and Ankara African prints.
Hmm.
It was really simple half square triangles and diamonds made into star pattern. It was really beautiful. And it was interesting to see how those florals matched with the Ankara, with the African prints. It was really lovely. And I was so excited to get it to my friend for her birthday. I forgot to take a picture. And I kept telling her, send me a picture, send me a picture. So
Great.
hopefully she will, and I'll have that. But I don't sell my quilts.
Hmm.
I give them, and I tell everybody, oh, I bought some fabric today, so you got a quilt in your future.
And I'm sure they start to smile.
Quilt in your future, yeah. So, and I'm making a quilt for each one of my grandchildren, or I've made most of them, but now I got great grands. So
Yes, they just keep coming, don't
I
they?
know, like rabbits, keep
Well,
multiplying.
I want to say again, thank you so much. Thank you for joining the quilt community. We are thrilled to have you as a member. And I hope to see some photographs of your quilts on your social media. I do follow you on Instagram. And I love the inspirational messages because the universe sends you the message you need to hear when you
Yeah.
need to hear it. And often I'll go, oh, yes, thank you, Auntie, for reminding me.
You know what? It's funny. I don't put my quilts out on social media. I
Mhm.
keep my quilting for quilters. It's really kind of so sacred to me.
Yes.
Um, and it's just a place in my life that's my place. So I share it with quilters, but I don't really put it out in the world because when you are a public person,
Mm.
everything becomes, I gotta have something that's just mine. So
I understand that.
yeah, if you're not a quilter, you will not see my quilts.
All right. That's a deal.
Okay.
Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom today. I loved your message about quilting, first of all, being for you,
Yeah,
and the fact that it is a meditative, reflective kind of practice. It grounds us. So many women, especially, of course, men too, but women, we lead such fragmented lives. We're pulled in so many directions. We take care of so many people,
yeah,
and we take care of the world. So
yeah.
having that space for us to make is really sacred space.
It really is. It really is. And the level of focus, and for me, like I said, the prayers, just to be able to pray into a quilt. And so someone you love, that you're covering them with prayer. The energy of those words into that into that fabric. Uh it's the weaving together of all aspects of life. So it's really a sacred practice for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you again and
For
enjoy
having
the
me.
rest of your day.
Okay. Thank
Uh,
you.
and again, I really appreciate the gift of your time. I know how really busy you are and how many commitments you have. So this is really special to me and to those who will be seeing it.
Well,
Thanks again and
uh,
peace and
happy
blessings.
happy quilting.
Absolutely. And thank you, everyone who's been watching this video. Really appreciate the time that you've spent with us. So, everyone, take care and bye bye.